All right, we'll just jump right into it. Thank you. I think that was a pity clap. That's okay. So first up, we have Federico Ariza talking about Matplotlib, my first Matplotlib enhancement proposal.
Yeah. Bonjour, Montreal. Good morning, everybody. I guess most of you know Matplotlib in one way or another. I love Matplotlib. I use it a lot, but I hate the way you cannot tweak the toolbar or the shortcuts easily. I mean, you can, but you have to build a freaking backend. So what I did was to get in touch with the guys in Matplotlib and say, hey, I have a proposal. I want to change that to be able to take the actions, even shortcuts or buttons or what happens when you touch a button, take the actions out and put it into a special place that we will call Tool Manager. So that's how the MEP 22 became alive. Just to, so let's start with Matplotlib. Easy importing, typical importing, except for the Tool Manager key RC parameter. Then let's make a typical plot. I mean, it's a messy plot, too many things in there. You hate that kind of things, but that happens from time to time. Now, if I want to make a simple tool because I've been working so hard, I say I need some encouragement, and my boss doesn't give it to me, so I'm going to encourage myself. I'm going to do a simple tool that would just tell me that I'm doing great. I add it. I create the tool, and I add it as a shortcut with C, uppercase C. Let's see what happens if I. Oh, I'm doing great. You see it in the little message box. But shortcuts are for geeks, so let's add it as a button. Now, oops, I have a button that says simple. I'm doing great. You see, so far I'm doing great. Now. OK, that's not that useful. I need it for myself, for my self-esteem, but it's not that useful. Let's try something else. I have too many lines on that plot, so I'm going to set on and off the visibility of different lines. For example, here, and just add it. And I add shortcuts. I made the 5 or 7 groups of lines, the data and the model, and I just can switch them with a touch of a button. 1, I turn off 1, 2, 3, you see? So it becomes easy to add functionality without having to recode your application or your script or whatever. Sometimes you are there. I would just want these 2 graphics, and I don't want to touch my script again. But those colors, did you see those colors? I mean, come on. That yellow is pretty. No, it doesn't cut it. So let's make a simple tool to be able to tweak the colors. And I add it. Let's say I have here. Now I have my little button here. Let's say color. Let's hope it works. And let's say, that yellow. Let's put it green. Oh, of course, the demo is not. Oh, I know what's happening. I have many lines then in the visible. Come on. No, don't. This is demo time. You're supposed to work. OK. Let's try it again, just to make sure everything works. I still have time? Yeah, 45, 50 seconds. 50 seconds, I can do it. I can do it, guys. I can do it. Don't worry. I'm there. I'm there. Going there. Of course, a big. Come on. Yes. OK. Now, color. Let's see, change this red. Red. I see I want some purple. And it did it. OK, guys. And actually, this is how I got into the Matplotlib development team. They accept me. I'm very happy. And this just was merged 2 days ago. If you have any questions, if you see that the functionality is not quite there yet, please let me know on GitHub, and I will change whatever is needed to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome. I think your plot needed some coffee, too, just like me. All right, moving on. We have Jeff Meadows talking about automatic test retrying with Flaky.
Hi, my name is Jeff. I wisely but timidly chose no live code for this morning's talk, so I'll get right to it. Today I want to introduce you to a library called Flaky. It's a plugin for 2 of the most popular Python testing frameworks. It's easy to get started, pip install Flaky, and it's available on GitHub. OK, why would you want to automatically rerun failing tests? Have you ever been tempted to do something like this? Remove a test just because it's failing? Look, there's lots of wrong reasons to do something like that. But when it's crunch time and you've got one of those tests that just only fails every once in a while, it can sure be really tempting. So what's a flaky test? Well, we call a test flaky when a couple of these conditions are met. Usually they only fail every once in a while, sometimes 1% of the time or less. Oftentimes they've got a failure mode that's really hard to fix. But the nice thing is that a lot of times you rerun your test suite, and that flaky test that failed the first time, it's going to pass this time. But these tests put us in an awkward spot, and there's really not a perfect fix. And just to reiterate how bad of a problem this can be, we're going to do a little bit of math. I know it's early. But given 50 flaky tests that fail 1% of the time, any ideas how often the test run is going to fail? Or with 100 flaky tests? It's pretty scary. It turns out that just 50 flaky tests can make your entire test run fail 40% of the time. And of course, it gets worse the more flaky tests that you have. So let's say we have an example flaky test. This one is not actually flaky. It fails the first time every time and then passes every time thereafter, but it's a nice example. So what happens if we run the test? It fails. This stinks. What do you do in this situation? You've got a few options. This test in particular would probably be really easy to fix, but imagine one that depends on some external component would be really difficult to fix. What do? You have a few options. What's the first one? This is pretty common. Just comment the test out. Maybe leave yourself a comment that you're going to come back and fix it later. But let's be honest with ourselves, we are probably not going to come back and fix this later. In addition, you lose code coverage, not good, and you maybe forget that you're using your methods under test. Slightly better, maybe you can skip the test, again, leaving yourself a nice optimistic note, but you're probably not going to come back and fix this either. So for this purpose, we would like to automatically rerun tests when they fail and see if we can get a passing result. So that's why we wrote Flaky. It's a plugin. It works with Nose, and it works with py.test. And all you have to do is mark your tests with Flaky and then run them. Here's what that would look like. You just import Flaky and decorate your tests. And then when you run Nose tests with Flaky, the tests pass because it runs it a second time, and you get a little bit of an output telling you what happened. So coming back to the math slide from before, it turns out that if you retry each of those 50 flaky tests whenever they fail, your pass rate is dramatically improved, orders of magnitude better. OK, so Flaky is pretty nice, but it does come with a word of advice, OK? You should use this with caution. As soon as a test fails, don't just mark it with Flaky. OK, try to fix it. Your tests are trying to tell you something. But for those cases where your tests are very difficult to fix and you want to make a smart time trade-off, Flaky can be a really nice choice. So in summary, mark your tests with Flaky instead of removing or skipping them. It's really easy to get started. Just pip install Flaky. Just run py.test once it's installed, or pass the with Flaky argument to Nose tests. And I made this presentation with IPython Notebook, so thanks to those guys for a great product. You can download this notebook at opensource.box.com/flaky. And there are instructions here to reproduce the notebook in its entirety and follow along and make changes. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, real quickly, is Cameron Davidson Pilon in the room? If you are, just come up front. Thank you. Next up, we have Andre Roberge talking about Reborg, Carel on steroids.
Thank you. I'll just start with a bit of history. In 1981, Richard Pattis invented Carel the robot. Simple robot world, limited number of instructions, move, turn left, pick beeper, put beeper, and the robot had to do some tasks, and people learned programming with that. Multiple implementations, Pascal, Java, C++. I don't know why you'd write a Java, C++, or C++ implementation for something that's supposed to be so simple, but people did it and use it. Why Carel? Pattis was inspired by the play by a Czech that invented the word robot, and the word robot was first used in 1921, and the name of the play was known by its acronym, and it was subtitled Rossum's Universal Robot. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. In a few years back, Jeff Elkner and their students wrote a Python-like implementation called Guido van Robot, the best name ever. In 2004, I decided I needed a hobby, so I started programming as a hobby, and I read about what languages and whatnot. I had learned Fortran many years ago. I learned there was this thing called Python. So I said, I'm going to teach myself Python, and what I did is I wrote a program called Rurpl for Roberge's used robot and not Rossum's universal robot. And what it is basically a Carel simulator that you have. It's 4 tabs. This is just a static image. There's a place for tutorials, place for the robot world. There's an editor and a Python interpreter all put in there available. Of course, it's Python, so I used the normal Python syntax, PEP8, and you have the choice of using function-based programs like move and turn left, or at the bottom of the screen, you see the object-oriented programming approach. You can create new robots, so you have the flexibility because you're using Python. Samsung has produced books based on Rurpl that is distributed for free to students in Korea. It's been used in many universities and many schools, and if you use it, stop. There's a newer version called Reborg.ca. It's Python 3, not Python 2. Totally free. Rurpl was also free, but this one does not require download. It's free. It's on the web. No login required. It's just there. Let's see how that will show. So if you go to Reborg.ca, that's what you will see. You could go to the French version if you wanted. There's a tutorial written in Sphinx, using Sphinx. However, you don't have to use this tutorial if you're an educator. There are other people that wrote better tutorials, better design for kids. Anyway, it's there, it's available. This is Reborg's World, the newer version. What it can do, and why I say it's Carel on steroid, this is sort of task-driven learning where the program doesn't quite work and we get something that's wrong, and we had one instruction missing there, so we can get all green signal. We can have multiple robots. The start position there is not known. Every time that I will execute the program, sorry about that, the starting position will be different, so you can encode worlds with various number of tasks, and it's always different. You can have a French interface. I'm going to show this quickly. The main thing there is that I have, maybe a bit small to see, I have the possibility to import from a library. This is the French version. You have the same thing in English. It's all saved in local storage. And also, if you look closely, at the top, it's from Reborg_ES, import Avanzar. I don't speak Spanish. There's 3 languages. It would be nice to have more languages incorporated. You can create new worlds. If I go into editing mode, I can go and change the world. I won't change anything there. I can share worlds by permalink. This is a complete encoding of the situation right now, program, world situation. You just copy and click. And finally, I'll just skip to, this is a recording using Mozilla Together.js. On another computer, I'm controlling the robot So you can share multiple sessions with multiple users remotely, and there's a lot more that I didn't have time to cover. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Awesome. All right. Next up, we have Chris Stehlek talking about scraping property tax sites.
My name is Chris Stehlek, and I want to talk about a project that I did last year that I literally had a day to do, so I couldn't learn a big module, a big framework. I just had to do with what I had on hand and what I could frantically Google. So that's what I call this, a little Python goes a long ways. I was interested in tax defaulted properties, and in the US, when you don't pay your property tax after a certain time, usually years, the county will come and take your property and auction it off. And if someone comes up to the county and says, well, what kind of properties are you auctioning off this year, you're going to get a file that looks like this. And this one had 5,000 items in it. And it has a few things. It has a parcel ID, and it has an address, and it has the amount due at sale, which is the tax amount that point that the auction is going to start at. But there's a few more things here that I'd like before I'm going to start bidding on them. One, I'd like to know if there's a property on, or building on the property. If it's a vacant lot, I want to know if there's going to be opportunity to get water and sewage and gas out to that. And I'd like a rough idea as to how much this is worth, because the beginning amount is never that. There's vendors that will give you this for a couple $100s, but I'm cheap and it's public information, so there should be another way around it. You can go to the assessor's website, and they'll give you this website here, and you enter in the parcel number, and you hit go, and it gives you a bunch of information on that, and you actually have the information I'm looking for here. You have the land value, you have the improved value, which is buildings, and you have whether there's water, sewage, and natural gas that comes out to this. And this works great if you have one property or 2 or 10 properties. It doesn't work so great if you have 5,000. You can't really print out 5,000 and spread them over your desk and kind of look through them and see which ones you like. But what I noticed was for each URL that I did this for, it was the same URL except for the parcel number. That's the only thing that changed. So knowing that, I can do a script here. I can make a text file of my 5,000 parcel lists, and then I can use urlib2 to make a URL for each one of these, switching just the parcel number, and write out 5,000 URL files to my drive. And the most important line here is time.sleep (1), because if you don't include that and wait a little bit, the assessor's website gets really cranky really fast. So now I've got 5,000 HTML sites, or pages. Yay! So the next thing I do is I need to parse each one of those. I can use glob to get through each one of them because it's a wonderful module. You just give it a pattern and say any files ending with HTML, and then it gives you a list of those files. And then you can use a handy parser that I found, HTML to CSV, to go through and parse each one of those to CSV. Now I've got 5,000 CSV files, and I'm getting a little closer to what I want. Now I can use glob again, and I can pick out the information that I want, the current land value, current improved value, whether it has access to water and sewage, and make a line for each one of those properties. And then I have one big CSV file, and I can put that into a spreadsheet. And then once I have that, I can make a lot better informed choices as to what I should be bidding on and what I shouldn't be bidding on. So with a few hours of coding and just a little bit of time, you can do a lot. And that's why I say a little bit of Python goes a long ways. My name is Chris Stehlek, and if you have any questions about tax defaulted properties or the scripts that I used, you can contact me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome, nicely done. All right, last call for Cameron Davidson Pilon. Please come to the front. If not, then you're going to lose your lightning talk spot. All right, so next up, Philip James talking about Ducker, chat-based docs.
All right, good morning. My name is Philip James. I work for Eventbrite, and like she said, I'm here to talk to you about Ducker. So I really love documentation. I think that well-written documentation is both a great resource for advanced programmers and the best way to onboard new people. I hope that most of the people in this room agree with this. The other thing I really love, since I had a good mentor when I started engineering, is rubber duck debugging. This is the largest rubber duck I could find on the internet because I think it should symbolize the entire field of rubber duck debugging. And for those of you who don't know, rubber duck debugging is the practice of solving a problem just by talking it out, oftentimes at an inanimate object or at a friend who's not really paying attention. And so since I really love docs and I really love rubber duck debugging, it seems like there might be a way to combine these things. How often have you, as whatever level engineer you are, asked the questions, how do I, or where in the docs is, or better yet, how often have you had a junior engineer come up to you and ask those same questions? And in a perfect world, we would all have the full amount of time to be able to help each person who comes up to us and each person who asks, hey, where do I find this in the docs? But maybe there's a better way. What if you were able to talk to a chatbot that had full knowledge of your docs, knew how to pull out keywords, and could parse them so that you could have a conversation with a chatbot, do rubber duck debugging that way, and end up with a meaningful answer before you've had to bug somebody else on your team or somebody who's a mentor to you? And so that's kind of what Ducker is. It's a combination of man pages and Eliza, the chatbot. We're hoping to make it something that can process everything from the Python docs, everything from the Django docs, plus read Sphinx-generated documentation on read the docs, pull that into a format that you can view through an IRC bot or a Slack bot, and then deploy to your team really easily. It's kind of a century for human confusion as well. If you know what questions are being asked of Ducker, you can realize, hey, my docs on this area need to be way better than they are, or, that's obviously less clear than I thought it was. So unfortunately, Ducker does not exist right now. I know I'm disappointing all of you. But there is a GitHub repo. We're planning to sprint on it over these coming sprints starting Monday. We have a great logo by the person who originally came up with the idea. If you know Aldeka on IRC, or Karen, she might be in the audience today. She had the idea in an IRC channel a couple weeks ago. She did it as a joke. I thought, hey, that's actually a great idea. Let's sprint on it. And so we will be sprinting on it over this next week and hopefully continuing development and deploying it. And that is it. Thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. I need this. That sounds awesome.
I think everybody does.
That concludes this morning's lightning talks. If you want to give a lightning talk, there are still signups for tonight and for tomorrow morning. I will be taking away the board around 1 p.m. today. The sign-up boards are by registration, like right behind you in registration, so go check it out. All right, I guess we got a little bit of break until the first keynote. Thank you.